And hello, a massive welcome back. Episode 3, I'm joined again by Jamie and Louis. And what a weekend it's been. So much action, so much drama. And where do we start? Well, today we're going to talk about officiating and VAR. Has VAR gone too far and is it ruining the game? Topic 2, Arsenal. Are they contenders? Can they win a major trophy? And when I say major trophy, can they win the Champions League or the Premier League? And we have some differing views on that. Then we've got Tom's teaser. It's 0-0. 0-0. But I promise you, I said this last week, one of you get this right. It's a really good question. And then we have the third topic, owners. Why are fans so obsessed with getting rich owners? I know, Jamie, you got some views on that and maybe a little round for us. And then we're going to do best bets. You know, as how's it gone so far? Are we millionaires? And then we're going to finish with a quiz. Louis, you're tuning up on the quiz. Jamie, it's time to strike back. It has been, I think it was 2-1, 3-2 in the 2 weeks. So this is it. Big quiz, Jamie. You need to strike back and strike back. You will. Okay, so let's get straight into it. It's been a huge week in the Premier League. We've seen red cards. We've seen VAR for handballs. And I think it's fair to say we saw Gordon with a handball. Do we understand the handball rule anymore? Do we know what's going on with VAR? Louis, I'm going to start with you. Officiating VAR. Before I start with you, first question, VAR. Are you for or against VAR?
Completely against it. Football was 10 times better before it was introduced.
Against VAR. For or against VAR?
On that point, I agree. It was better before.
So against VAR, I'm for VAR. Before we get into that, officiating, talk to me. This weekend, there's been some bad decisions, hasn't there?
There's been plenty of bad decisions. I'm not going to go on about the one in the Chelsea game, but talk about that later. First, there are just a few simple decisions. In the Wolves game, the handball they got given, it's just the referee not knowing the rules. I think we've been told so many times now, if you didn't watch it, the ball hit up off the Wolves player's leg onto his arm. And I think we've been told so many times that that's not a penalty now. And they've gone through VAR and they still give it. So I don't understand. It's just like referees getting the rules wrong, which the whole point of VAR was to make things easier for them to understand. But now you've just got basically 2 referees refereeing a game. In the Chelsea game, the red card was, I think Jamie agrees with me, a bit of a joke. If the referee just gave a red card to start off with, I would say fair enough. I wouldn't say fair enough, but I'd say at least he's made that decision. In the game, the referee's reffing that game. He's given a yellow card straight away. Okay, no complaints. He's following through the ball, but it's just that's how the tackle happened. It wasn't forceful.
Was it reckless?
It wasn't reckless. No, he's not like he's just got a stud on the ball. He's fully got the ball. Dingley's gone to get the ball as well. It's just unfortunate. That's what happens. It's a contact sport. You can't do anything about that. And then you've got VAR, the VAR, whoever's in charge of it for this game, going into the referee's ear going, yeah, you might want to have a look at that. He goes to the screen. They freeze frame. The first thing the referee sees is after he's kicked the ball and where it looks bad, where Dinier's leg's in a bad position. So immediately, basically, VAR is saying, you should probably give a red card there. Well, if you think you should give a red card, why don't you just tell him instead of making the referee standing there for 2 minutes thinking, well, I didn't think it was a red card before, but now you're showing me this, and you basically want me to give a red card. So who's refereeing the game? There's so many things going on. Another one, in our game, we all laughed at the African Cup of Nations where the referee blew up early for the game twice, thinking, that's happening in the African Cup of Nations. It's happening. Our game, it was meant to be 3 minutes added on. He blew up just as it went to 42 minutes, and there had been a stoppage for 2 minutes in added time anyway. The time's on the screen now at the stadium, so everyone can see it. Everyone's going, what are you going on about? How can you, what's going on?
Do you know why he blew early? He had best bets. He had 10 euros on the 0-0 half time. That's why he blew early.
What's going on?
I know, but I saw Sky Sports did say, look, you could have played until, whatever time, and they was going to stay 0-0. But let's just, so you've got your rants on VAR, and personally, referee, I love it. When I hear these, my views on Chelsea. So VAR out, big, got to go. VAR, you're out as well.
Yeah, I think so. On just some of the reasons that Louis mentioned there. I mean, for me, listen, if you're going to have someone in the sky, so to speak, make a decision. Just let them make the decision. I can't be bothered to see a referee going and standing on the side of the pitch looking at a monitor for 2 minutes. Well, we saw the Romero handball as well. It was unfortunate because I think the shot was scuffed. Romero had to go in and try to block the ball. His arms up there, but kind of natural to what he's trying to do. But the ball could have gone in, to be fair. So, yeah, it's a handball. We all saw it was a handball. We don't need the referee to go to the monitor and look at it. Just wherever the Sky judge is, the VAR assistant, just make the decision. Why does the referee on the pitch always have to have the final say? I don't care who makes the decision, just make it quickly. That's all. It's slowing the game down so much. And like I said, that we all saw his handball straight away. The VAR guy knows it's handball. He knows the referee's going to give a handball, and yet we have to watch someone looking at the monitor for 2 minutes on the side of the pitch. For what reason?
This is my problem. So for those who don't know, I am a qualified referee. I like to mention it a lot. But the issue is for me is the strength.
Explains a lot.
Yeah, it does explain a lot. I'm actually pro VAR, but my issue with VAR is that for this to work, you have a strength in decisions. And we need a VAR manager. We need one person, one voice, and we need to hear that voice. So Harry Webb is obviously in charge. For me, he should be doing that. Now, yeah, you say we can't manage every game. I think it's very plausible that you work a weekend. He's probably getting paid a very good amount of money. He should be the voice of VAR. So therefore, what do we have? We have consistency. We don't have issues of, oh, this was a penalty. Oh, but that was not a penalty. Oh, that was a red card. But the Sheffield United game, that wasn't a red card. We need strength. And the problem is at the moment, referees, to become a Premier League referee, for example, is a long process. And unfortunately, we're losing good referees along the way because it takes too long. Obviously, of abuse that comes down. And a lot of referees, when you watch it, you can tell they're getting stressed quite quickly. And they struggle, managers putting pressure on them. And unfortunately, unless there's systematic change, referees will struggle. If we can't hear the VAR conversations, then we're going to have miscommunication, lack of decisions. And unfortunately, I don't believe it will change until we have one voice. And it can't be Mike Dean, though, okay? It can't be someone too controversial. But for me, just have one person. Howard Webb, you're probably watching this, okay? Just you sit in there, you work the weekend, and you be that consistent voice. Because at the moment, like we watch football and we disagree. We might say that's a penalty, that's not a penalty. The referees are the same, they're human.
No, I agree with that. But again, VAR has taken out football is quite a simple game. There are lots of sports where you score loads all the time, like basketball. It's not, when you score in football, it's a massive thing. That's what's good about football. Yeah, of scoring a goal. And now you score, and every time you get enjoyment from maybe like half a second, and then you realize, okay, I can't even celebrate because they're going to check everything. What they do is they try and see how can we disallow this goal, which is basically what they do now. And so you can't celebrate it, and you think, what's the point? Referees make mistakes. I think all footballers agree the same thing. Footballers make mistakes. They say this all the time. They don't mind referees making a mistake if that's just natural. If they're making a mistake when they can still see what's going on, then it's so much harder to stomach. So I don't know. No. It will never go back now, but also it's making the referee's job harder. We've listened to those when they're under the mic and you've got the VAR guy screaming at them. They're screaming at people. And you're like, what's going on?
Haven't you mentioned that?
Make it easier for them.
If you've not heard that, it is crazy. So I think it was Anthony Taylor is on the VAR, and he's like, and then the VAR was going, wait, and they're screaming at each other. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, have a little bit relax. If that's what they're going through extreme stress. Obviously, you're right about VAR. They're looking for any excuse to rule out a goal. I mean, Chelsea haven't even scored a goal this month, so I can't even imagine how painful that is for you. So, it does feel like they're doing anything they can to take away goals, take away enjoyment, and ultimately going to lose fans along the way. And unfortunately, if we can't hear the mic and they're under this sort of stress, this is what's going to happen. And I do worry about VAR and referees in the future because I'm a referee. Would I want to go back to 11-a-side doing that every week? Absolutely not.
One thing I say, though, is that the big clubs like Chelsea are the ones who ultimately brought VAR in because they've shouted the loudest. You had games like the Barcelona game in the Champions League. Those big-time managers, Mourinho, Ferguson, they were the ones saying that we can't have this. And there are other factors. The kind of explosion of betting as well made a huge difference to VAR. They knew they couldn't have people losing huge amounts of money on bad decisions. Ultimately, there's a lot of factors in that. But I always felt like the big clubs asked for VAR to come in, and now they don't really like it.
What a benefit to smaller clubs. I'll tell you why. For example, a Brighton, a Villa, whoever, when they go away to Old Trafford, you can't hide behind the penalty shouts anymore because VAR will even it out for smaller teams because
you say that and then you see some of the decisions.
I know, but you're getting more decisions. Big teams will have more of the ball, right? But it does even out along the season, and therefore you see inconsistent results because big teams don't always get the huge home favour. Old Trafford used to be a place you would never get a penalty, and they'd always get a penalty. And now they can't. They don't always get that.
But I was saying, like, I don't want to go on about it, but people accepted bad decisions happening before.
You had to.
You can't accept it if the referee can see it all and then still makes a bad decision. It's just, there's no net benefit to having VAR. There's none.
So
it's just made the game worse.
So you're going worse. I'm saying better. I think this is a debate that could rumble on forever, right? Refs make 98% of the time they get decisions right. However, I do agree that's probably dropping due to VAR.
That's the refs saying they get decisions right, not
2018, there was a report that said that refs make 98%.
2018, it's pre-VAR.
I know. I reckon it'd be a lot lower now. But that'll rumble on. Let us know your thoughts. What do you think about VAR? Has it gone too far? Does it take the enjoyment out? And also, if you watch lower league football, I'd love to hear from you because there's been games like, for example, in the FA Cup. If you play away from home, like we played Middlesbrough away last year, no VAR, amazing. We scored and I was like, oh, we can celebrate here. And I do agree with your point there. I get the second point, I want to talk about Arsenal. I really like Arsenal. But the question is, can they win a major trophy? What I mean by that is Champions League or the Premier League. Can they win it this season or next season? I've got an outrageous shout I'm going to start with and leave it to you two, okay? I think Arsenal are ready-made for the Champions League, and I think they can win the Champions League if they avoid Man City. I put them as my second favourites. Love to hear from you, Jamie. What do you think?
Not for me. I mean, the big thing about Arsenal is they lack a plan B for me. They haven't really got a plan B. I think I like Nketiah. I don't think he had a good game by any margin on Sunday. But what different does he offer from Jesus? I think when they spent so much on Kai Havertz, that is what is really, really baffling. They have Odegaard in there who plays the role really well. They can play two pivots behind. They could play Smith Rowe as a kind of backup attacking midfielder. So I don't see why they needed Havertz in any way. And they could have signed a good striker for that money. I know they wouldn't have had him until January, but Ivan Toney's been linked. They could have bought like Højlund for that kind of money they spent on Havertz. They need a different kind of striker to offer something different in those games, like on Sunday. To be fair, I thought Spurs defended better than Arsenal. As a team, I mean, you look at the Arsenal goals. I mean, they're lucky to have the handball. They're lucky that someone, that Romeo also swung a foot and scored the own goal. I mean, they haven't created that, enough good cutting opportunities
Other chance was
to win the game.
Them like pressing Maddison, so it wasn't like they weren't. I don't think they were like carving Spurs open.
No, that's my point. I think Spurs defended better as a team, and then Arsenal defended pretty weakly as a team. You really look at Saka was dropping in, got turned inside outside by Madison in one little swift turn. And the heads dropped quickly after that. They conceded within 2 minutes. Was it? I think the song goal. So yeah, there's some. It's early, and Arsenal are a very good team. I think they'll come close in the Premier League. At least they'll apply some pressure at some point. But I think if they're going to win the Champions League or Premier League this season or next season, they need another type of striker. And someone like Tony probably would be my pick.
A plan B. I think I think Havertz could have actually been a perfect striker yesterday because they got the ball wide a lot, and I thought they could try something different. They didn't, and we are forgetting when Declan Rice went off. Jorginho just explicitly just gave away the ball and it scored. So it'd be interesting if he's there. Can they match Chinese Champions League like we saw last season? Inter Milan have a very lucky draw. But what do you think about Arsenal?
I think they're a really good team, but to be fair, there's not that many good teams in Europe at the moment. I think it's one of the easiest times to get far in the Champions League. Like before, you used to have Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and Barcelona were three. If to win the Champions League, you have to get past one of those three, and they were all amazing at the same time. So now it's really you've got to get past City, and I think Arsenal are maybe Real Madrid. Although I watched some of them yesterday, and they weren't really up to much. But again, 6 months down the line is when the knockout stages come in, so anything can change. I do think with Arsenal is that this is the first season they're playing Champions League and going for the league at the same time in a long, long time. And last season, they kind of went on a run of fixtures where they just played the same 11 pretty much every single game. And they play really well, but they got in a rhythm, didn't get any injuries. And now they've had little injuries kind of everywhere. And it just disrupts your game. And I don't think Man City can deal with that easily. They play games where they don't even exert any energy and they just walk through it. And I think Arsenal play with so much like intensity that now they're picking up little injuries and their rhythm's just gone. I'd say it. I wouldn't say it's gone. Like, they won 4 out of 6, but like I don't think they're looking as good as they did at the start of last season. I think getting rid of Xhaka, I don't know if he wanted to leave, but to replace him with Havertz in that position, I just think that's one thing Arteta's going to die on. And I don't really understand why he's done it.
He's very stubborn, isn't he?
Stubborn on
but
that.
This is where I see it planning out there. And I think you're right, 6 months' time. I think Liverpool will be the closer contenders to Man City. I think Arsenal will fall back because I think their league, they've already dropped 4 points, and Man City might have dropped 4 points to January at this race. So I think Arsenal might actually have a luxury. They're going to finish top 4. Let's not kid ourselves. They're going to be in the top 3, I would say. So they might get a point by February. They can just rest a few players in the league, pick up results, and go for the Champions League. And you make sure your top players are fit for that. And therefore, I just think over 2 legs, Arsenal, the Emirates, they bouncing for it. It was a great atmosphere. They won 4-0. 4-0 was against PSV. They look good. They look strong. And I think a good draw, and over 2 legs, I could really see them lifting that Champions League trophy.
Yeah. What about they had that time in the Europa League the last 2 years?
They're different team now. They make sure they mature.
Twice in, is it Olympiacos?
Sporting Lisbon.
Lisbon.
Yeah, it's just, I think Declan Rice, that midfield, a bit more.
Did you see him yesterday?
Older. He came off half time, a bit more mature. I just think Arsenal, we bounce the Champions League, it's a different feel to it. And I just think when they're at it, they're going to be a really tough place to go.
Can Arteta afford to take that risk, though? If they drop off in the Premier League, if they go backwards from last season and it doesn't work out,
you say go backwards. If they get to a Champions League semi-final,
but if they don't,
I agree they don't.
Yeah,
but
in trouble.
The thing I'm looking at, they're going to win the group, right? They're going to win their group.
Their group.
Their group is so easy. Then I was thinking about, they win their group. They can't play English teams, the last 16. The other so-called big teams look at Bayern Munich will win their group. Real Madrid will probably win their group. And therefore, okay, so they're all, I know, this is planning ahead. They're probably going to get to a quarter-final, almost guaranteed quarter-final. Then it just takes, Inter Milan last year, they played a Portuguese team. Then they played AC Milan. A good draw. Imagine if Man City was to get knocked out by someone like that. Imagine if Man City got a Bayern Munich and an upset was to happen.
I think
Arsenal winning the Champions League. I told you Chelsea would finish 12th, and I know I was wrong because they're going to finish in the relegation zone. Arsenal to win the Champions League.
Have they, did they convince you in terms of hold it out under pressure under Arteta? I mean, they blew the top 4 last day of the season. They blew the Premier League, really. They had a good lead going for the last 2 games. They haven't shown that they can handle pressure very well, so I don't know that if they'd be able to handle like a Champions League semi-final against someone like Bayern Munich or someone who's been there before.
It's big difference.
Listen, it's a huge difference, and I can't wait to see if they can handle the pressure. But I go to your first point. The European at the moment, there's a gap. Do you know what I mean? There is a big chance that I think Man City will win the Champions League again. However, what I'm saying, they avoid Man City. Who knows? Over 1 game, Arsenal already beaten Man City's Community Shield. Fine, they beat on penalties. They've done it. There's a template there. And if it's Arsenal Man City in the Champions League final, who knows? And then next quarter, you would not enjoy that, would you? Watching Arsenal lift the Champions League. So you're both saying no major trophy?
FA Cup.
None of the big teams. I don't think the big team. I think, again, obviously it does depend on the draw, but I think they should be getting to the semi-finals. I don't think I reckon there's 4 decent teams, maybe, in Europe now. Like, Napoli have completely gone to pot now. What a manager. There's no Italian teams are any good. Inter Milan.
No Liverpool. No
Liverpool are probably going to be good this season.
So our scoring at will, that's what I will say. They can work out defensively.
But it's January. They are backing the manager, money, financial. They might go into the market. Timber will come back. He'll just be back for around February time. They go into the market. They might try and add one more
striker. I think.
Yeah, if they get a shot. Imagine they've got Tony. So I know it's a big 6 months, but Arsenal have proven they spend money to back the manager, and I really like what Arteta's doing. Yeah, he's hard to watch on the sideline, but he's transformed that team. And if only Chelsea had Arteta, or Man United had Arteta.
Maybe if everyone got 4.5 years, finishing 8th twice in a row, maybe
it's working now. It's working now.
Patient.
Have a little patience.
That's what I said about Jake Lighton. You went Nah.
No, this is Paul Potter. Graham Potter's probably watching. Anyway, okay, we've had that. Now, time for Tom's teaser. 0-0. 0-0.
Get on the scoreboard.
Here we go. It's time to score. So, yeah, you can Google. So how the rules are, Tom's teaser is simple. I'm going to say a question, okay? If you want to know the answer, jump on in. Get it wrong, you're frozen out, okay? And that's happened to you the first week and you the second week, I believe. So, don't jump in. Take your time. Think about it, because someone's going to get on the scoreboard, okay? Okay. Here we go. Tom's teaser. Good luck. This is your chance to get on the scoreboard. Between 2005 2008, which goalkeeper won the Golden Glove in the Premier League?
Reina. Right. Which goalkeeper?
Yeah, well, won the Golden Glove between 2005 2008, 3 consecutive seasons.
I think
That's right. Well,
I don't think.
no, I
You
know
did-
the one out.
He's frozen.
I know it is.
He's frozen out, Pepe Reina.
I know it is.
I think you're wrong.
Huh?
You think you're wrong, do you?
Well, I'm not going to say.
Don't say, because you could jump in.
It's between two.
Go on, you can think out loud.
You know, I think Chelsea had a great defence during that period. I think I'm going to go there. Then they win the league with the least amount of goals conceded.
It is.
Yeah. So,
But then
I need to. I don't really understand the question.
That was...
Who won the most Golden
No,
Gloves?
between 2005 2008. That's 3 seasons, 3
What?
consecutive seasons. Who won the Golden Glove?
Okay.
I have another contender, but I'm going to go with Petr.
So, do you want to change your answer as you feel like the question's been changed or no? Petr Cech is locked in. Now you know the full question and standard. Do you want to change
Well,
your state?
depends. We would have definitely got it in 04, 05, so I don't know if that counts as 2004.
No, because 2005 2008, 3 consecutive seasons.
And then I think Liverpool got it under with Benitez, just even though they weren't that good. I'll stick with Ray.
He was quick at Pepe Reina, wasn't he?
I think Van der Sar was the other one.
Van der Sar
Was he in it?
is a
That
great
was
shout.
later.
That was later. It's 2004 2005. Chelsea
Yeah.
broke the record. 15 league
15
goals.
goals.
This keeper had
Oh.
57 clean sheets in 3 seasons.
I think it is
57.
Reina because Czech got injured.
Pepe Reina. It was
Is it?
Pepe Reina. Yeah, that 3-year period, 3 seasons. Well done.
That's a-
1-0 to you. I was really hoping he'd change his answer.
If he said it's 04, like
Yeah, well, I
2004,
knew.
then I would
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that.
no, of course. 57 clean sheets in 3 seasons. The
Back then,
Bezos.
football was just like defensive. You see all the goals conceded. It's like we conceded 15. I think Liverpool came fourth, conceded like 20 goals.
a season. Half your games. Clean sheets.
Chelsea legend, Benitez.
Benitez.
Best again.
Okay then, so topic 3, we're going to talk about owners and fans and how they're obsessed with getting rich owners and what that really looks like for clubs. And Jamie, I know you've got a bit of a rant on this. What are your feelings about this?
My fears about this are more about the fans than the owners. I'm gonna preface this by saying there are some bad owners out there, undoubtedly. I'm not saying that complaints are not always warranted. They are. I'm gonna start on Manchester United. You know I like them very much. No, but in seriousness, Manchester United fans are some of the best in the country, I would say. But and there are concerns about the debt. I'll say that front up. The debt at United is a problem that needs to be sorted and absolved in some way if the Glazers leave the club. But listen, the Glazers weren't such a hot topic when they took over the club. There were some protests, granted, but those settled down when Manchester United started winning titles. But United fans are largely complaining due to the lack of success, and that is not a good reason to complain about an owner because their team's worse off. But United fans seem to want some sympathy, so I will give them some. Yes, your 76,000-seater stadium is falling apart. How tragic. Coventry have played in Northampton and Birmingham in recent years because they're home. They've been displaced from their home. Titles. How many titles have you won? 5 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, 4 League Cups, and a Champions League during the Glazers' reign. So tragic when Luton, Birmingham, Reading and others have had points deducted because their clubs are run so terribly. And $2 billion has been spent by the Glazers since they took over United. Meanwhile, Bury just down the road, no longer in existence. Scunthorpe and Southend have fallen through the leagues like no tomorrow. But United, poor fans, eh? And now they want richer owners. We'll take Qatar owners. Who cares what we get just to keep up with everyone else? I've got no time for it. No time at all. Now the Glazers have done some things wrong. Yes, for sure. Are they the best owners in the world? No, I'm not here to defend them. what I'm here to defend is that United fans get on board when not enough money is spent, when they're not keeping up with the likes of City, but that is not a good enough reason, where the other clubs so much worse off. And we saw this with Arsenal as well recently, how quiet they've gone recently. Hey, started to pick up, they started to spend money, suddenly the fans are happy. The Cronkies can't go no wrong again. Wow, look at this. The LA Rams won a Super Bowl, the Cronkies are on fire. And now, yeah, look at what's happened. But Newcastle, you were next victims, Newcastle fans, so disappointed in you. You were fantastic at one stage, some of the best fans in the country again, and you just accepted ownership like that. How unbelievable. Saudi Arabia, murderous, literally murderous owners, should never have been approved. They weren't approved at the first attempt. They give it another shot to Premier League. Oh, the sound of money, and they accept it. Wow. But what's most disappointing is Newcastle fans accept the ownership, and for the terrible, cheap price of success. Because if this was a bad ownership again, then you'd hear all about it. But no, they're doing well, so it's okay. And that is tragic. And most of the defence, we deserve success. No one deserves success. We just mentioned some of the teams that have fallen through the leagues. Under Mike Ashley, Newcastle were a wreck. Got relegated twice, but they bounced back up twice. First season, they bounced back up both times. Listen, no one deserves success. And listen, if you're going to accept ownership like Saudi Arabia, you can't make excuses for it. Just say, look, it's out of my control. I don't expect people to walk away from their clubs because of who bought it, but do not say you deserve success to justify owners who murder people. You cannot. You cannot say that. It's a disgrace that Newcastle fans use that excuse for being okay with the fact that Saudi Arabian owners. And listen, it's easy to not say anything in success. It's easy. And it's just, this is what's so bad about it. This is where Newcastle fans need to stand up against it. They won't, because they're happy to be in the Champions League. But listen, if I had so much more respect for them if they complained while they were doing well and they made a clear stance that they wouldn't allow this in their club, but they will, because it's successful. It's the same as Arsenal, it's the same as United. It's all defined by success and nothing else. And that is tragic when you have clubs go out of business lower down the leagues.
Short-term gain, isn't it? That's a great rant, James. Thank you very much. Yeah, what a rant that was. I completely agree. It's short-term gain, isn't it? These fans that when their Saudi Arabians came in, literally they're like so happy. They're partying in the streets of Newcastle, partying because they're like, here we go. We are deserved success with the Mike Ashley era. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's the sad state of affairs that is sports washing there. Because I think you definitely have obviously a lot. I've got like a few Newcastle friends and they're not happy about being taken over. As you said, like, it's not their choice. But then you do get the other end of the scale where you just have people defending the owners. Like,
it's not everyone, yeah. It's not everyone. There are people, and I want to throw Manchester City in that conversation. I'm not forgetting them. It's pretty much, it's a very similar thing. I didn't mention them. I just want to throw that in there for United and Newcastle fans. There are the clubs that are in a similar situation. So
I don't always blame the fans though. But not everyone has like that educated or whatever. The whole point of sports washing is they're taking advantage of people's like emotion to a club, and people can't see past that a lot of the time, and they're just saying, I don't care, I just want to win, I don't care, it's nothing to do with me. And sometimes I just think, what can you do about that? That it's hard to completely stop that from happening, because I think it's almost impossible.
What were your thoughts when obviously Roman Abramovich sold up, and if Everton get taken over and that would be 50% of the Premier League to 10 will have American owners? So when Todd Bowley was going to step in through the doors, what were your thoughts? Were you like, okay, brilliant, or did you do your research?
Well, they had they were the best. It was the best plan put ahead. I think, obviously, I don't think Abramovich wanted to sell at all, and still don't know what's gone on with that money. I think the UK government are just holding it. I mean, yeah,
don't get shut down.
That's a different story. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, I mean, they had like a process, and it seemed to be the best of quite a bad bunch, to be fair. But yeah, I know it's difficult for fans because you have no control over this. Maybe it could be like in Germany where it's a 50% ownership of the fans. I think that was put up by the when the sale of Chelsea was going on. Like, should it be by the fans? But again, it's hard to do with all the money in the Premier League. And you say you don't want to be chasing money, but you get left behind. Really,
the Premier League has let fans and clubs down to no end, and I think they think that this is going to take the league in to an untouchable level. I think it's having the opposite effect. To be fair, I think City have made the league completely boring in terms of now we're getting excited about who finishes second. That's not good. That's not a good league.
The thing is, because they've got basically unlimited money, but they've got the machine sorted there from
They sign well. They sign very well.
Obviously, Guardiola is a massive part of that, but it's more fun when you've got a lot of money and you don't know how to spend it, like us. And the teams have been like that.
Don't think it's more fun, because I don't think you found it
it's more fun for the Premier League.
More fun for me, I think, yeah.
More fun for the Premier League. You had Man United spending loads, more than anyone, I think, over the last 10 years. And just they don't have a plan, really. So it's not just about the money.
That's the point. Yeah, if it worked out, if Alexis Sanchez went on to be Messi, or then we wouldn't be hearing a lot.
But it feels like you're right. If you stand still, you fall behind, right? And I feel like obviously Brighton run very well, but really, if you don't have money, how can you break into that top 6, top 7? Because now Newcastle are breaking into it because they have money and they've overachieved. But if you look at a club let's look at Crystal Palace, let's look at West Ham have done very well. But you look at Southampton, your Leicester's, your Leeds, they've been relegated.
And can do it for a certain amount of time.
Exactly. Or you have an incredible system in place that's working extremely well. And
well, this is it. Sometimes for clubs like that, you have to accept your position almost, and that's a tragic fact.
Yeah, and is that fair?
You look at VAR, the team I follow, they pretty much accepted that they're going to be 5th or 6th every year.
Yeah.
The odd year you get into the Champions League, but unless you somehow buck the trend, the only ticket in is if you somehow achieve something like 3 Champions League qualifications in a row. That prize money will take you to that next level without a new owner. But if you can't do that, and most teams can't, even if you're the best run club in the country, you have to accept the fact that you're going to finish 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, something in that range, and there's no breaking in unless you have state ownership, that's the monster the Premier League have now created, and it's just tragic what we're seeing.
The Premier League is the Super League. I know obviously you've got salary money now, but you've got a lot of stars from La Liga are going to that league are older. You've got a lot of younger players coming to the Premier League now. You've got players like, was it Pau Torres signed from Aston Villa? You've got players like ilk that back in the day, Pau Torres would have gone to a top 4 team. But now the Premier League can offer a huge amount of wages.
Villa as well, very rich now.
They're so rich.
But that's another point we said we might have talked about. But now teams coming up from the Championship, if you see the league at the moment, 3 points between them. Yeah. And I think it's making it harder and harder to bridge the gap, because the teams Wolves, they've been spending money for ages, but they've got good players, like Neto's quality. 60 million, Cunha? Yeah, they've got good players. And then you've got Luton, I feel a bit sorry for them. Luton and Sheffield United are just, if they don't finish the bottom 2.
Do you feel sorry for them though? I don't think I feel sorry for them, because Sheffield United have sold their 2 best players to Burnley and in France. And then Luton have come up and gone, we're signing the Championship best players.
Because for their business model, it makes sense. They just sign good Championship players. They know they're going to get relegated. Next season, they'll be a good Championship team. But maybe you can give it a bit of a go. But I think they just got promoted when they really shouldn't have. They've kind of ahead of the...
Exactly.
One curveball, the 3 teams went up last year. They all stayed up.
They did.
Which was a huge...
And the 3 that went down this season are big teams.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it's one of those where the 3 teams that have come up. I mean, we don't know about Burnley. I think it's fair to say Burnley will have a very tough start. Yeah. So maybe they turn around company, but then you look at a team, and I'm not overly sure. But they spent a little bit of money. The other 2 teams just have no ambition. And I suppose, that 12 points from Derby... 11 points, sorry, Derby. I'm going to get extra points for 11 points. That is in jeopardy. Luton are a bad football team. And I keep saying it. You've not won a game this season because everyone beats Luton. If you don't beat Luton, Wolves didn't. That is poor.
I reckon they're going to pick up some points, just from 5 though.
Well, they're going to have to stop conceding goals.
I do want every year someone to be as bad as Derby, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
You don't reckon?
They are just the worst team.
You've seen Luton play, right?
I've seen Derby play as well.
Yeah, they were bad.
That's fine now, Luke. We should be talking good about 1
point.
No, the Hatters.
No, up the Hatters. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think it goes back to a sad state, isn't it? I think unfortunately the Premier League is becoming like the Super League. And how many clubs are even owned by fans? I think it's 2, Brentford and Brighton. And therefore, it sort of loses the joy. And if you don't have the money, you're going to fall behind, aren't you? It's sad because now, that top 6, add Newcastle, and Villa soon, suddenly teams like Spurs, Big Ange is doing an amazing job, because if not, they would be falling behind.
Well, we might even get a top 8 now.
Yeah.
And we might even be...
It does keep the standard up, though, because, before, top 14 could not be that good and could still get it with not that many points, or it wouldn't be that much of a challenge. Now, if, we've started the season awfully, we're so far behind, I'm like, it's like 3 or 4 teams ahead of us who wouldn't normally be there. So now you basically have to be on your A game.
Well, the one lucky thing is you can be rich, but you can still run yourself badly, right? It's last season, Newcastle, you'll finish in the top 4. You'll fortunate that Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea, all disastrous seasons. I mean, luckily, and United have proven this over recent years, you can still spend money badly.
Spend money badly at billion and get relegated. That's what I'm hoping. That's why, I'm praying out yesterday. We weren't talking about Chelsea, but there was what's your Super Sunday? He goes, there's been a goal at Stafford Bridge. I thought, Watkins. I celebrated that harder than the Brighton 3 goals.
Told you, obsessed.
Obsessed. I am obsessed. And when they get relegated, I cannot wait. No, you're not getting relegated, but I'm loving it. But you're right. I think it's has lost its soul, isn't it, football, a little bit, the Premier League. And us celebrating new owners is really sad, isn't it?
Sad indeed.
But it's the direction we're going. Right then, so going to move on to the best bets. Best bets, £10 best bets. It's fair to say we had a miserable week, didn't we? An absolutely shocking week, actually. I think we go over this very quickly. -20. You are plus...
I'm on €16 a pound something.
We have to rename
16.25. You're up pounds. We got pounds. So you're up 16.25. Down 20. Remind everyone you had last week.
I just had a Brentford to win. I knew that was going to happen.
And another podcast I called it. If you watch the podcast, I said, you know what's going to happen? Tarkowski would get a last-minute header. He didn't get a last-minute header.
Got goal and assist.
But he got the winning goal, because it was obviously 3-1, but he got the second goal. Wow, we're just loving this season. Whatever you said, whatever he said, whatever Louis says, go the opposite. Do the opposite. So that was a loss. I had Arsenal and Tottenham, both teams to score, Arsenal to win, didn't come in, and I stupidly said Chelsea would beat Villa after Villa lost in Poland on Thursday night 4-3. Shocking from me, I won't be doing that again. What I've learned from this season, back the relegation teams to lose, Luton and Chelsea. What did you go for?
Last week I also bet on Chelsea. More than 3.5 goals. There were 300 chances each side, and none of them taken apart from.
So we've learned our lesson, right?
Leave Chelsea out on Chelsea.
Never bet on Chelsea. Never bet on the early kickoff, and bet responsibly. Okay, make sure we bet responsibly. Now we need to fix it up because we had a bad week, really bad week. Now, Jamie, you're the only person in profit so far. Let's come to you first, because at the moment, if you're watching, Jamie's your man to listen to, because right now we're having a shocker. So go on, what have you got?
I've done what you said. I'm back in the big teams against the strugglers, Arsenal and Bournemouth, and City and Wolves. Both teams, both Arsenal and Man City, have a -1 goal handicap, which means they have to win by more than 1 goal. That's 3.3 to 1, and with a tenner, brings you back £42.95.
Oh, so you gave a -1. That's interesting, isn't it? So Arsenal went at Bournemouth. Yeah, Bournemouth are they're opened up, aren't they?
And City will take Wolves pretty comfortably, I think.
At Wolves or at City?
It's at Wolves.
I think it is at Wolves.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I think Fancy have not a good record at Wolves. They've got a few draws. Okay, interesting. So, anyway, listen, you're in the green. So that's a nice bet. Returns about £42.95, and then we're all the way. That's number one. And actually for you, that's a double.
Well, he went to see if last night I went to say. I'm not doing any more.
Okay, so you've gone for it. That's a nice bet. What have you gone for?
I've gone for a treble. Yeah, I've got. There's a lot of bankers.
Don't chase your losses, people.
There's a lot of bankers going on next weekend, but okay, it's going to come back to me. But Everton at home to beat Luton, West Ham at home to beat Sheffield United, and then Newcastle -1. So Newcastle to win by more than 1 goal at home to Burnley.
Go on.
That treble is £10 returns, like £39 in 5
I'm going to tell you how you're going to lose this bet, right? Everyone, right? Newcastle won 8-0 yesterday against Sheffield United. People forget that result. Newcastle are spineless. They're boring. They're awful to watch.
They won the 5-1.
Yes,
First
yes.
game of the season.
Then after that, they are so boring to watch. Okay, Aston Villa at the high line. They are not a fun team to watch. Okay, that was an anomaly. It happens in the Premier League. It's weird. It won't happen again. They all win 1-0, like they always do. I know we do at home, and Burnley will go. They play. They were game last time they played away. That's minus one. I think Newcastle. We all got a bit carried away that game.
They'll be on the high after that 8-0. Burnley, I don't know, been pretty unimpressed by them. Just all pass it around.
Good draw. Forest away.
Is that a good draw?
Forest away is a tough game. Listen, you were the Forest away. You're losing that 1-0. You've lost to Forest at home. Come on, do you know what I mean? That honestly, the entitlement of this children. This Forest a hard game with a lot harder away than it is at home.
Well, it's not. You wouldn't pick out all the games in the season and go, yeah, Forest away. That's a good, tough point there.
We lost to Forest away last season. Tough place to go. Like, Forest are a proper team at home. Anyway, Forest, great team. Now think about my bet. I've also got Everton. Everton, both teams to score to beat Luton. Really fancy that. Everton can't keep a clean sheet. I mean, won this season. Luton have got a goal in them. Can't deny that. They can score.
A penalty.
They scored one against us, and actually we did everyone.
Scored 2 penalties in the season. They had nothing from open play.
Yeah, they got a goal in them. That's the penalty.
Bit of weird penalty.
And Everton, they haven't got one clean sheet this season. So I think Everton win 2 or 3-1. Going for that. And then on the Sunday, it's Forest Brentford, and I'm going for both teams to score. Just don't get the result. Both teams to score. Really fancy that, and that returns about 42. I would say that's banker. 99%, I'd say. Yeah, I really fancy that. But I think all 3 good bets.
I would say my banker would be Fulham-Chelsea 0-0 on the Monday night, but we can't.
Yeah, we can't do it because this comes out on a Monday. On Monday night, it's Chelsea at home.
Chelsea away to Fulham. Under 2.5 is evens. Short trip. Get on that.
Short trip. You're confident in them?
No, not at all. We know we can't score. Fulham don't want to score.
Yeah.
It'll be 4-3 0-0 or
so
1.
make sure next Monday you're watching our podcast, not that game, because Louis has not sold that. Right, that's the best bets done. Right, time for the quiz then. So, Jamie, it's time to pick up.
Like Luton, I need a penalty.
You are, because you're currently, unfortunately, 2-0 down. However, you've always got the first question right, and therefore you've had a chance. You've blown it a little bit. You've got a bit carried away, should we say, right? Louis having a season to forget. It's your time to get this back, okay? I've got to post it note just in case. Right then. So, the first question of the quiz. There have been 3 Golden Boot winners that are Dutch. They are... No, don't jump in. They are Robin van Persie, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and who?
Hasselbank.
Hasselbank, 1-0. Hasselbank, nice.
2 different clubs.
2 different clubs?
Cardiff Legend.
Chelsea. Oh yeah, I did forgot it. Chelsea and Leeds.
Yes. And who did bonus? This is actually not a point. Who did Chelsea sign from?
Atletico Madrid.
They did sign Atletico Madrid for a year.
And they got relegated. The season played for them.
Really?
Yeah.
How can you compete with that sort of knowledge? That was a Chelsea-based question. He used to hit the ball hard. Right, 1-0 Louis. But maybe it's the curse of getting the first question right.
Maybe
it's the curse. Okay, this is going to be a quick one. The Premier League started in 1992. How many clubs have competed in every season?
Every 6.
2-0, 6. Name it.
I wasn't there.
Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, Everton.
Well done. 2-0. Now you're really in trouble. Now you're really have to get there.
I'm done.
You're not done until you get the next 3, right?
One.
Right, here we go. When Cristiano Ronaldo left Manchester United, who took his shirt number?
Michael Owen? No, it wasn't him. No, it might be Michael Owen.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
British.
I'm going to guess him. Oh, no.
I'm going to say you misery. It is Michael Owen.
Is it?
3-0. Well done. How many you got that show there?
Sure.
Michael has quick
I
as
remember
hell.
thinking, what a weird number.
And also, before we finish the quiz, we have got your €10 forfeit that we are doing on camera for the fans. Okay? because Louis made a big shout on Friday night, didn't he, on your VTF social, that he can bicep curl a 15 kg. Okay, so we will be having that for. Right, I'll continue the 5 questions. Okay, it is 3-0. Bit of pride now.
I need to asking the question.
We can stop it next week. Okay, right. This question, you're annoying. I think you're going to get this quick as well.
No.
Who is the youngest ever player to win the Premier League? Thank you.
What? Foden?
Is it right?
It's Phil Foden.
Is it?
Okay.
He's won 5 Premier Leagues as well.
I thought we were left feeling. Okay, you know.
Yeah.
I thought you'd get it. Okay, next one. If this is 5-0, we have to get a forfeit for this. Right. So the Premier League, the top left foot scorer ever is, it goes, the list, okay? Salah, Fowler, Robin Van Persie. Who's next? For all-time left foot goals.
It might be someone who's like not left-footed and just be like, ooh. My first thing is nice to be like left-footed. So shut. Wait, who'd you say again?
It goes Salah 1, Robbie Fowler 2, Robin Van Persie 3.
Are they going to be left-footed?
Left-footed goal. I'll give you a clue. They are left-footed.
Okay.
You all know.
Right. I'm gonna. I'll go. It won't be. That's his in, but we're being sort of 2-footed.
Incorrect. Don't. You get a point in the board here. Left foot is.
Sick. Look. Stolen. Oh, I think I've got it.
I don't know.
No? What do you think it is?
Giggs?
It's Ryan Giggs. It's Ryan Giggs. So if it's 4-0, now you've been whitewashed there, haven't you? Maybe next year you might have the quiz master. Yeah, it's you didn't get that 5-0 though, because that would have had to come with a forfeit, 5-0. But it was tough. You've 3-0 on the quiz. You've absolutely the first 2 have been tough, but you've turned up today.
I got the first one down and
settled you down. Right, before we finish, Louis, it's your time to shine. It's gonna have to do, isn't it? We want it. We want the crowd want it. Everyone wants it. Are you ready for this?
I don't know how heavy this is, so
for the camera, before we say bye, there is a forfeit I can. You've got to do 1 call for the VTF fans, okay? So
10-year-old.
Here we go. Best bet. Here's your weight, right? So you've got to go down like this and all the way up, okay?
let me get it.
Oh, it's okay. You said in front of everyone on Friday night you could do it. Here we go. Look at the camera. So, always down. Good form.
Yeah,
right
we
to
can
top.
go now.
This is for everybody. Oh, he's done it. He's done it. He's done it.
You know, that is heavy too.
He's done well there. He's done well. Right. That was to the fans. A massive thank you to those who tuned in this week for episode 3. What a juicy week it's been, by the way. Please hit subscribe. And again, a massive thank you. We'll see you tonight at the premiere. And see you next week.